Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about what's happening with China's economy and its foreign direct investment. As you all know, there has been a lot of talk about China's economy not doing as well as people thought it would do post-COVID. There is clear indication that China's economy's growth rate has declined. It's gone down from 8 and 9% to now 4% or around there. And not only that, but the biggest component, 30% of China's GDP, comes from real estate. And the real estate market and the real estate industry has been in trouble for several years now. And this is not even a secret anymore. So everybody knows that China's real estate market and its collapse is bringing China's economy down. On top of that, Xi Jinping's policies of an aggressive foreign policy has also led to calls of either delinking or de-risking with China's economy. So people are less willing to trade, and new investments are not coming into China. So the biggest news now coming out of China is that there has been a precipitous decline in foreign direct investments into China in 2023. It is the lowest in the last 25 years or so. And for the first time, it was negative in one of the quarters. So for 2023, the total direct investments in China, the FDI, is $33 billion, according to the Chinese State Administration of Foreign Exchange. And this is like a 90% drop from 2021. 2021, 1 year after the COVID, China had its best year in foreign direct investments, which was equal to nearly $350 billion. It's amazing that people invested $350 billion in China in 2021, the year Joe Biden became president of the United States, in spite of all the anti-China rhetoric that was coming from Donald Trump, who was basically blaming China for the COVID pandemic and suggesting that it was something that China did deliberately. So it is in that context I want to basically address the question. So if foreign direct investment is not going to China, where is it going? But before I get into that nitty-gritties and try to see who is the winner of this China's loss. Is it India? Is it Mexico? Is it Vietnam? Is it Malaysia? Is it Brazil? Is it somebody else? Please, if you have not yet subscribed to Khanversations, please subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon so that you get notifications of new videos that I post. I know a lot of my friends who have subscribed to the channel but have not pressed the bell icon. So don't forget to press the bell icon. And if you want to support the channel, you can join it by becoming a member. The button to join the channel is right next to the button to subscribe to the channel. So look at this graph here. This is from Bloomberg, which shows basically foreign direct investments in China from 1990 till now. And if you look at it, you can see that basically from 2000 onwards, there was a huge increase in foreign direct investments in China, and it reached the peak of $350 billion in 2021, and a huge drop. I mean, this is a catastrophic drop from 350 to $33 billion in 2023. It is quite possible that there might be some improvement in the first quarter of 2024. We have to see what is going to be the impact of the Xi Jinping and Joe Biden summit in San Francisco in November. So did that help? And then the speech that Xi Jinping gave to businesses in San Francisco, is that going to help bring back foreign direct investments to China? We will have to wait and see. The best reporting on foreign direct investment is done by UNCTAD, but unfortunately their reports come in the middle of the year. So around June, July, when the report comes, I will take a second look at the state of foreign direct investments in the world. But for now, I had to basically target some countries intuitively because I had a sense that these countries are benefiting. And so I picked on a few countries to look at what was happening with foreign direct investments in those countries. So first, take a look at this. UNCTAD says that foreign direct investments in developing economies generally fell by 9% in 2023. So that is itself a huge, shall we say, an impact. The global economy itself has slowed down. Foreign direct investments to developing countries went down by 9%, but in Asia, it was even bigger decline. That is, the decline was by 12%. And apparently, the general environment for foreign direct investments in 2023 was not as good as 2022 or certainly 2021. So now the theories about this is that one of the reasons why investments are not going into China is because countries are adopting this delinking or de-risking policy. Delinking or decoupling is basically to disconnect with China, withdraw all your investments, and have nothing to do with the Chinese economy. Neither you export nor you import. And given the interdependence, especially of Western countries on China, and also developing countries through the Belt and Road Initiative and various imports dependence on China, decoupling at this moment seems a completely impossible strategy. So the more likely strategy is de-risking. What it means is that you continue to trade with China, you continue to invest in China, but hedge your bets. And so in these hedging bets, there were two strategies. One was China plus one, which means you continue to invest in China, but also find an alternative strategy of investments. And the second one was what is called as nearshoring. So rather than offshoring your manufacturing and your supply chains, you look at an ally and a friend. So either you're doing friendshoring or nearshoring. So instead of just going to China, with whom you may not have really friendly relations, especially for Western countries, you go to a country with whom you have friendly relations, or a country which is nearby, and that reduces the cost of basically transportation. And then another strategy which a lot of people in India were talking about is to basically replace or move global manufacturing from China to India, because India is like China. It has a large population, highly talented people, and the government is business friendly. So why can't we move manufacturing to India? And the government has been talking about it, about manufacturing in India and giving incentives to foreign firms to come and invest in India. So basically, there are three possible explanations as to what's happening to the money, which is not going to China. It's either going through friendshoring, or it's going through China plus one, or it is basically going to India. But if you look at India's data, you will find that this year has not been good for India too. So India has been showing, as you can see from this rising FDI in India, from 2000 onwards, there has been a steady increase in foreign direct investments to India. I mean, there are a couple of years where it has gone down, such as 2010, and then in 2013. But otherwise, you can see a steady increase until 2022, and 2022 was the best year for India in foreign direct investments. India attracted $84.8 billion, about $85 billion. Especially this was highlighted as the same year when people found that the geopolitical tensions with China started increasing, and countries started talking about basically de-risking and decoupling. And with the rise of geopolitical tensions in 2023, it became very clear that Western countries were not only trying to reduce their imports from China, but they were also trying to reduce their investments in China. So the hope was that all of that would come to India. And even though Foxconn, which constructs and builds iPhone 15 did a huge investment in India of $600 million. India's overall investments went down to by $15 billion to $70 billion. Now, this other chart shows you what is called as FDI equity inflows have also reduced. So if you look at the year 2022, India had equity FDI inflow of 58.77, and that has dropped significantly to 46 in the year 2023. Equity inflows is direct investments in companies and stocks, whereas the overall investments in foreign direct investments can also be in forms of loans to companies, etc. So equity is just investments in stocks and shares of companies. So basically, what this suggests is that equity has started dropping from 59 onwards, downwards to India, and basically the total FDI kind of plateaued from 2021 to 2022 and started declining, or at least has declined this year. So unless India does better in 2024, then we can say it's not a trend, and 2023 was an aberration. But if it drops below 70 in 2023-4, then you could say there is a trend, and that would be something that will need further explanation. So if the money is not coming to India, where is it going? India's second best year was 2021. So India got $80+ billion that year, and China got $350 billion that year. So India's 84 billion is not something that would prevent another 300 billion worth of investments in China. So where is that money going, which did not go to China and did not all come to India? This chart also is another chart that shows how India's FDI has trended since 2012. So I looked at Brazil, one of the BRIC countries, and Brazil has had a terrible 2023. Foreign direct investment in Brazil dropped from $75 billion to $60 billion, an 80% drop from 74.6 to $61 billion. And this is in the first year with Lula as president. And so Brazil is not getting the foreign investment. What you also realize is that 2023 has been a bad year for BRIC countries with regards to foreign direct investments. China has dropped significantly from 350 to 30. India has dropped from 85 to 70. And Brazil has dropped from 75 to 60. I mean, this looks like a trend. And of course, investments in Russia, foreign investments has also dropped precipitously. So it looks as if the countries which usually used to invest in these countries are not investing as much in BRIC countries. So let me throw a question at you and say, is this a geopolitical thing or a geoeconomic? Is this a strategy to prevent the growth and development of BRIC countries by not investing in them? Or is it something just coincidental that at the same time, these four countries have suffered some decline in the case of India and Brazil, and a huge decline in the case of China and Russia in foreign direct investments? By the way, the third quarter in 2020, the third quarter, foreign direct investments in the US were $70 billion. The US received over $200 billion in foreign direct investments in 2023, but in the third quarter alone, its foreign direct investments were more than Brazil's and nearly equal to that of India's total. Then I looked at Vietnam, and voila, Vietnam has attracted $36 billion. It's a huge jump, a rise of 32%. So it was $23 billion prior to that, and it's jumped from there to $36 billion. So that is a huge growth. So that is something very interesting. Vietnam is like a mini China. Vietnam is a communist country which has suddenly opened economically. Its per capita is around $4,000. It's not a very rich country. It's not very poor either. It's better than its per capita GDP is better than all South Asian countries, for example. And it is attracting huge investments. In fact, a lot of people think and are arguing, and there is evidence for that, that the investments that would have gone to China are now going to Vietnam, and Vietnam is an example of China plus one strategy some European countries are adopting. But the biggest investments to China has not come from the West. They have come from Japan and Singapore and Hong Kong, which is a Chinese territory. And then I looked at this is Vietnam's growth. The forecast is it will reach up to $38 billion in 2023. And then I looked at Mexico, and Mexico also has shown a significant, this has been a major year of direct foreign investments into Mexico. And to me, that was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So in 2023, I don't have the data for the whole year. And as you can see, that the data shows that in the first 9 months, in 2023, Mexico received $33 billion of foreign direct investments, and most of them are coming from the West, from Germany and the United States, and especially the US was the biggest investor in Mexico. And this year, I think Mexico's exports to the US have, for the first time after a long time, surpassed that of Chinese exports to the United States. So the US is really turning towards Mexico for trade as well as for foreign direct investments. It's like a mini pivot to Mexico. So that is an interesting thing. So what I'm trying to point out to you is that while there does appear to be very clearly movement away from China in terms of foreign direct investments, I mean, given the huge drop from 350 to 30, there's no doubt that this is a strategic event. And we'll have to see what happens in 2024. There is much talk about US-China relations have become better. And if indeed US-China relations become better, and if China's aggression in the South China Sea, in the Indo-Pacific region, comes under a little bit under control, then there's pretty good chance that there will be more money flowing into China and more trade again with China. So if we see this trend back, that trade and investments are coming back in China, then it will be as if we are back into 2017, 2018, where all directions, all financial investments, everything was looking towards China. But if it doesn't happen, and if there is a continuous decline in China, then we can say that there is a fundamental shift in the global economy, and there is a rebalancing taking place in globalization. So the data is very interesting, but it's only for 1 year. So if we can see this trend to persist through 2024 and into 2025, then we can say for sure that there's a rebalancing and reglobalization taking place. But at the moment, it's just 1 year, but it does appear that there is some kind of strategic attempt to invest less in BRIC countries. So it's not just China, but Russia, India, as well as Brazil, which have received less foreign direct investments. And countries are more interested in nearshoring rather than finding India or doing China plus one strategy. So the US has turned towards Mexico, which is very near to it, just a neighbor. And the investments that have come into Vietnam have come from neighbors, Japan, Hong Kong, and Singapore, which are in the region. And the investments that Malaysia is also attracting is also from Singapore, is the biggest investor, I think, this year in Malaysia. One of the other countries which I looked at, which is also attracting. I couldn't actually pinpoint the total foreign direct investments into Malaysia this year because the data is a bit complicated with signatures and agreements, and then there are monthly data available, but not the total for 2023 yet. So I can't give you the exact figure, but there is a spike in foreign direct investments into Malaysia. And given that the Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim is also the finance minister of Malaysia, there seems to be Malaysia is paying a lot more attention to bringing in foreign investments and increasing its exports. So this is an interesting trend taking place, that perhaps the rebalancing in globalization is beginning to happen through nearshoring. It's possible that countries are looking to their neighbors and to investors in their region for foreign direct investments. So that has some strategic implications for India, which was looking towards the West, looking for free trade agreements with Europe, with Great Britain. So far, US is the biggest trader with India in terms of trade. But so who are India's neighbors? Who are those who can use the nearshoring strategy and invest in India? And that means India has to look towards Asia, Taiwan, South Korea, Japan. These are the big countries which can invest in India, and then look westwards to Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and other Middle Eastern countries like Iran. So I hope that this will give you some food for thought, something to think about for those of you who are now hooked on geopolitics and geoeconomics. This is a political economy, an international political economy perspective that I have tried to advance. And you can see the overlapping of geopolitics and geoeconomics, especially with the parallel decline of FDIs in BRIC countries. So I hope you found this thought-provoking. And so thank you for watching Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host. And before you go, if you have not subscribed to Khanversations, subscribe to Khanversations, like the video, press the bell icon, share the video widely, and try to join Khanversations and support the channel. Take care. Thank you. Good night.